Democrats are close to reaching a long-awaited deal on President Biden's social spending agenda. So here's what CBS News has learned. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is planning a final vote on a bipartisan infrastructure bill as early as Wednesday. But that vote will only happen if a reconciliation deal on the social spending plan is reached before then.
We've 90% of the bill agreed to and written. We just have some of the last decisions to be made.
So two key Democrats involved in those negotiations, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Joe Manchin, met with President Biden at his home in Delaware yesterday. For more on what they discussed, let us bring in CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang, who's at the White House for us this morning. Weijia, good morning. I don't know if you feel like Bill Murray today in Groundhog Day, but it does feel as if we are, look, on one hand, it feels as if we're getting closer, but on the other, I mean, people who are watching us and are, keeping a close eye on the news cycle have heard this before. So what can you tell us about the president's meeting with Senator Joe Manchin and the Majority Leader?
Well, I think the fact that he had that meeting at his home in Delaware on a Sunday speaks volumes about how involved, how personally engaged the president now is in trying to get this over the finish line. But to your point, Vlad, it's not over until it's over. It's not done until it's done. And so far, we don't have an announcement. In fact, that meeting ended with the White House releasing a pretty generic statement saying that, it's productive and they made continued progress. But I think what people want to know is, is there a deal or not? But I will tell you that it does feel like the momentum is building in a different way because of that meeting, because of what we have heard from Democratic leaders, and because it seems like they just have to iron out some of the details. However, those details are pretty big when you're talking about how are we going to pay for this thing, right? Because Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema has said she will not support the original plan, which was to raise taxes on corporations and wealthy Americans who make more than $400,000 a year. So the White House is floating a tax on billionaires or making the minimum corporate tax 15% to close any loopholes that let companies pay less than that. But they haven't decided yet for sure. And so in addition to that, they have to work out some of the climate policies to get to the president's climate goals by 2030 and 2050. So these are big things, even though we just heard the House Speaker there say that, we're just making some last minute decisions. Until both sides come out and say we agree and the president announces we have a deal, even though the chances are slim, there is a possibility that this doesn't happen, which would be, a huge setback for President Biden.
Yeah, you mentioned one of those little details is how to pay for this. And I know that, the plan was to sort of, at least from the Democratic plan, was to kind of raise taxes on wealthier Americans.
Right.
But that's getting pushed back. Do we know what the other options are in terms of how you pay for something this large?
Well, again, there's the billionaires tax, which affects about 700 people in the country, 700 billionaires, that could make them pay for a great deal of this, or, making the corporate tax at least 15%. But it's still hard, unless you see all the numbers in front of you, to imagine how you get to $1.9 trillion when the White House insists that, one, people making less than $400,000 will not see a single penny raised in their taxes. And two, there won't be any deficit spending. So where is the money coming from? The White House is confident that they will be able to get there, but we have to see the tab so that we can understand the figures. Because right now, without knowing exactly what they've agreed on, it's hard to imagine getting there.
All right, let's talk about the president campaigning in New Jersey today in support of the incumbent governor, Phil Murphy. It's expected he'll make another push for his infrastructure plan when he visits the New Jersey Transit Meadowlands complex. How important is it for the president to get voters back on his agenda, and how important is it for Governor Phil Murphy to have the president right here in Jersey?
So these tight governor's races in New Jersey and in Virginia are viewed as a referendum on President Biden's performance. And so it is imperative for him to go and try to garner support and help these governors, these Democratic candidates win, because otherwise it will look badly on him as well. And so today there's no official campaign event, but he is going to promote his Build Back Better plan, which is, of course, at the heart of his domestic agenda that we've been talking about. And it is important to get voters on board. The hope is that, this is nationally televised. The hope is that people watching, regardless of what state they live in, will then put pressure on their own lawmakers to make sure that they support this measure so that they can turn around and say, hey, look, a huge number of Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans support this. And so, you'll have to ask your own lawmaker why they are not. So it's not only about getting all the Democrats on board, but it's about sending a message to Republicans who so far have refused to support the bill because, he wants to show that this is what Americans want to make their daily lives better. But with regard to campaigning, tomorrow he will be heading to Virginia to try to help out Terry McAuliffe. He's, it's a very tight race there, and we've been covering it. But I think that this is one last final push before the president goes abroad because he won't actually be here in the States on Election Day next week.
Before we let you go, we want to ask you about the president meeting with Orthodox patriarch Bartholomew. The 81-year-old was actually hospitalized over the weekend after feeling a bit unwell. Is there an update on his condition and about the meeting? Why is the president meeting with him?
Well, this is part of a broad schedule for the patriarch, and so he's coming here to have a variety of meetings to, meet with various different leaders so he can take that back. But as far as his health, we do expect that he will be released sometime today. In his statement, the Archdiocese said that, it was out of an abundance of caution that the 81-year-old went to the hospital. He wasn't exactly feeling well after a long flight. He had a huge, as we mentioned, schedule of events planned. So they just wanted to make sure he was up for it. And we do think that he will be out of the hospital today. He's apparently feeling better and ready to go and meet with the president. So the schedule is the meeting is on the official schedule for the White House. So it is TBD whether he shows up or not, but we do expect that the president will meet with him.
Okay. Weijia Jiang, thank you very much.
Sure.